Now, 6 years have passed since former UK Prime Minister David Cameron held a referendum that would result in UK's exit from the European Union. COVID battered world economies. It brought healthcare systems to the brink of collapse. The UK was not left untouched.
It's been barely a month since Liz Truss took over the reins from Boris Johnson as United Kingdom's Prime Minister. And to make matters worse, the recent tax cuts have only fueled further discontent and outrage across Britain. Thousands of protesters rallied in London and elsewhere around Britain over the cost of living crisis.
Citibank's prediction of 18.6% inflation in the UK is the most pessimistic.
For June, the UK reported 10.1% inflation, the highest in 40 years. And that figure has been triggered by the global energy price rise, a fallout from the war in Ukraine.
Honestly, what's wrong with the UK? After effects of Brexit and pandemic that are still clearly visible, a government and a prime minister that changes almost every year, and some record numbers being established when it comes to the inflation and recession. Overall, there's been quite a bit of turmoil going on in the UK, and if you've been considering UK for your work or education purposes, then today's video is for you. Because today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of moving to UK as it stands right now. So if you're interested, stick around. Hello, namaste. My name is Nidhi Nagori and welcome back to my channel. I know I keep advising everybody and a lot of you guys on immigration, opportunities abroad, finances, etc. And so when the world is heading towards a recession and when we're seeing record inflation being recorded in different countries across the world, I do think that it is also my responsibility to tell you what are the pros and cons of considering to move outside of your home country right now. And today I'm picking up UK because there is no country in the recent past that has made it so many times to the headlines for either terrible economic policies, government changing, or the after effects or the lingering effects of pandemic. I'm going to be dividing this video into 3 whole sections. The first section will just talk about the news as it is, what happened, what are the numbers, what are the current numbers, what are the future estimates. The second section of the video will cover what are the cons of moving to UK or living in UK right now. And the third section will cover, is UK still worth it? So first, let's talk about what happened. Way before the pandemic even happened, UK signed off on Brexit, thereby leaving the EU officially. This led to a lot of labour loss and business loss. As a part of EU, UK enjoyed free movement of trade, people, labor, help, whatever it needed between all the European Union countries and itself. And once it decided to officially exit EU, it came with a lot of sanctions, a lot of business loss, and a lot of labor loss. While the pandemic lull was experienced by a lot of other countries, no other country had gone through Brexit and no other country had a double whammy to pull through. So while majority of the world experienced record high inflation, no other country got even close to the UK because it did not have the lingering effects of something like a Brexit. And if you think inflation is no big deal because most of the countries are dealing with it, then you should know the exact numbers. Citibank is estimating the UK inflation to sit at 18.6% in January 2023. That's an inflation in double digit, and historical data shows that no country likes its inflation rates to even go into double digits. Add to the record high inflation, the current government that just came into power a few weeks ago has announced a £45 billion tax cuts to the richest in the UK. The tax cuts announced was so staggering and high that even IMF found a way to taunt the current UK government. The immediate impact of this tax cut was that pound plummeted. It was already not doing very well thanks to Brexit, followed by the pandemic, followed by a government that constantly kept changing every year, and then came this extreme tax cut. Instead of reining in inflation, the government went the exact opposite way, leading to a crying pound that just came coming down the levels. So with record high inflation, UK is currently seeing a currency that is falling down like the shooting star. The third con that is anticipated and will definitely hit the consumers in UK is the rising energy crisis. Now, for no fault of UK, it got hit by a pandemic after the Brexit. While the Brexit was completely caused by UK, pandemic was not a choice, it got hit by it. And again, for no fault of UK again, it got hit by the current Ukraine and Russia war. While this war led to rising energy prices across the world, most of the governments stepped in and at least pulled in some measures to rein in the energy prices. UK unfortunately did not do enough, even with the new government. And so with a record high inflation, a currency that isn't doing very well, energy prices going up, UK also saw an economic contraction of 11% in 2020. Just to give you some perspective, this is not a number that UK saw even when World War hit. Meaning that even with the impacts of World War I and II, the contraction in the UK economy was not as high as 11%. 11% was a number that UK saw last in the 1700s. And this was when UK was a poor country, it hadn't started its whole journey of colonization, and no wealth had been accumulated in the country. Interpretation of economic contractions is simple, it is signaling a recession. And with a number as high as 11%, it definitely is signaling recession and bad times for UK ahead. And that brings me to part 3 of the video. With everything going so much in the opposite direction, is UK still the right choice? So I'm not here to tell you either ways, I'm just going to give you some points and obviously think through those, look at your own situation, assess your own personal situation and make an informed decision. These points are just facts. It could work for one person, it could not work for another person. So depending on what your priority is, where you are in your career, where you are in your life, make sure you take a very, very informed decision. So playing the devil's advocate, why is UK still right? Well, number one, the economic situation and the opportunity in terms of jobs. Remember how I spoke about there was an 11% contraction in the UK economy in 2020? Well, majority of the contraction was on account of labour loss. Because UK had suffered massive loss in its workforce thanks to the Brexit, followed by the pandemic, where the Great Resignation happened, a lot of people left the workforce and a lot of people were basically not available to pick up the jobs that were there in the economy. And since there were literally no people or no labor available to pick up the jobs in the economy, obviously the economy contracted. Majority of the 11% of economic contraction was allocated to just the labor force or the workforce not being available. That means that there is a huge opportunity for immigrants to find a job or a visa sponsorship in UK currently, given the situation. Employers are just not able to find employees. In fact, UK has consistently been posting more job opportunities than people available. And this difference, the difference between the number of people available and the number of jobs that are available, this difference has been crossing 1 million, which is 10 lakhs in Indian terms, for so many months now. So when it comes to jobs, there is no country that's going to be easier for you in terms of visa sponsorship compared to UK. That's my personal assessment, that's what I've seen in my network, and that's what the data also shows. The second benefit, this applies to people who are moving on student visa or even people who are moving on a work visa. Now, if you're moving on a student visa, you get a 2 or a 3-year work permit after you complete your education. And if you have a dependent, they also get a work permit while you study and after you are on the postgraduate work permit. If you're moving to work, your dependent can also move with you and apply for work permit. And this is something that not every country allows, prime example being United States. The third benefit that UK still has is language. Now, a lot of countries across Europe have been opening up because of aging population, less people joining the workforce every year, more people retiring. But UK is a standout because it does not need the language skills that a lot of other countries like Germany or France may require. The fourth benefit is the healthcare. It is free, it is funded through taxpayer money, and it is provided by the government. This is different than the Canadian system. In Canada, while you pay for your healthcare through your taxes, it is funded by the government, but it is provided by private hospitals. So there are a lot more nitty-gritties and a lot more legalities and regulations in between that you as a consumer of healthcare might not know of. In UK, there is no private system. It is funded by the government. It is also provided by the government. So a lot of regulations, especially surrounding, say, doctor licensing, nurse licensing, or any regulations surrounding healthcare are easier to deal with because it is just one party. You have the government that's involved. The fifth benefit is education. Now, education for your kids is typically free until they reach college. And with education, I'm also going to lump in scholarships. UK has been announcing a record number of scholarships. Currently, as I'm filming this video, the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship is open, and along with that, the Chevening scholarships are also open. What I love about the Chevening scholarships is that it is very country specific, apart from being wide. So while it applies to a lot of people, there are also very specific country related scholarships. Like India itself has 3 or 4 scholarships. I'm going to pull them up on the screen. So if you just want to go and look them up on the internet and do your application. So UK is literally throwing out a lot of money to get talent into its borders. And this is an amazing opportunity, especially if you're somebody who does not have the financial funding. If you want to move to UK and get paid for it, then this is how you can do it. And the last benefit that I think UK still has is it's multicultural. It is a melting pot of cultures from across the world, and that makes it extremely unique. On that note, we've come to an end to this video. I've given you all the pros and cons of moving to UK right now, whether you do it for work or education. Let me know in the comments below if you choose UK in the current times. And also let me know what you'd like to see, and also let me know what you'd like to see on my channel next. Until I see you again, I wish you good health, a lot of prosperity, and a lot of mental peace. Please make sure you take care of yourself. Stay safe. Namaste.